Hey everybody, Shaun McGinnis here at PAX East alongside Hunter Howe, who is the creative director of Dawngate, the game we're about to check out right now. Hunter, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Really excited to be at PAX.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, Dawngate, it is a new entry into the MOBA genre. Obviously, a very competitive space. There are some heavy hitters in the world of MOBAs. What are you guys trying to do to set yourself apart?
We've got a lot of differences, a lot of things that we're trying to do in gameplay. You know, while a lot of MOBAs might look similar because of the isometric camera, you know, we really wanted to do a lot of different things gameplay-wise. So not the least of which is really, you're going to see right here a 2-lane map with 4 economy nodes on the map. So the gameplay really revolves around these objectives. Similar to some of the other MOBAs, we have a defensive structure that you need to destroy to win the game. Ours is like a big MMO-style raid boss who like shoots down all of these AoEs, and is really sort of a PvE element that's meant to create awesome team fight at the end of the game. But the 2 lanes with 5 players create a lot of interesting, flexible options for players to build comps around. So we have something called the role system. What you see right now with this guy playing dibs is that he's a tactician. So he's going to scale really well into the game by doing what tacticians do best, which is hanging out in a lane, helping people, and harassing a lot. And so the more he can land his abilities, the more Vim, our currency, he's going to get. His friend there is a gladiator who's focusing on last hitting. You can do a number of different things, like you can run a 2 tactician lane, you can run a tri-lane. The role system allows everybody to scale and build comps to be able to create diverse strategies where you get things like double jungle tri-lanes, and this is sort of a more traditional thing that you'll see in our game that people can break in a lot of ways. Oh, we actually have like a tri-lane with a roaming ganker right now. That's somebody using the predator role. So it's really flexible in terms of how you want to play the game.
Let's talk about your map layout here. Is it one map that you guys are focusing on? Is it multiple maps? What's the situation there? We're
focused 100% on making the Dawngate, the map is the Dawngate, as fun as possible. You know, we don't want to sort of dilute our dev resources into something else, because like we really believe that, you know, the MOBA gameplay, you know, the map needs to stand up to thousands of hours of gameplay. It needs to have that depth and it needs to have that balance. So we're 100% dedicated to this map right now.
So let's talk about the layout then. Obviously, it's a little bit different from your kind of standard just square shape. You guys, you know, there are those bases in either corner, but the layout's a bit different from what people, you know, a Dota or a League expert would kind of expect.
Yeah, people who jump in from those games, like we have a lot of great beta players that have come from those games, and they'll feed a bunch at first because they'll expect the map to be similar. But as you see, it's got those 2 lanes. They're relatively close together. Something that we really wanted was a lot of those like mid-game skirmishes, I think, are like some of the most fun parts of MOBA gameplay. When you get like those 2v2s, 3v3s, ganks, people coming to reinforce other lanes. So those 2 lanes are relatively close together, allowing people to reinforce back and forth. Oh, this is an incredible tower dive happening right now. Also, you know, those 4 objectives. George, could you pan over to a spirit well for me? So these are our economy nodes that are in the map, and so 2 teams start with 2 of those, and they can be captured by the enemy team, and they can be cleared out of their workers, which the team uses to generate passive ticking income. So really, you know, we were thinking a lot about the roots of the genre of MOBA and thinking like, what are actually some of those things that were interesting in the RTSs that this was born from that we can pull back in? And we really thought the idea of like bases and ticking economy and somebody coming in and like using AoEs and clearing out a bunch of workers, that's like a really exciting spectator moment. And you know, the genre is so about those spectator moments where people can watch, and you know, the success of esports is really testament to that. So we sort of wanted that emotional sort of high for the viewer, but also all that again, PvE that reinforces PvP. So you see a lot more early game action as opposed to passive farming, which I'm really happy about in Dawngate. So you see we're getting right into the sort of Guardian fight towards the end of the match, if things continue to go well for these guys. So the Guardian is in the center, and he's got these cores around him. And the cores are destructible structures that you have to destroy all of them to make the Guardian vulnerable to damage at all. And they all each individually give the Guardian a really impactful ability. So you can take down one core, and that'll be like, oh good, we got rid of his ability to make that giant line of fire. And like, oh, let's get this other one. That'll stop the AoE fire pool that their team is really good at locking us into.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just you knock down that thing and there goes 20% of his armor. It's an actual tangible ability.
Yeah, no, he like will shoot this laser beam that will create a pool of fire that'll do like a third of your health bar per tick, right? So it's extremely strong, but you can dodge it. You know, we wanted all of his abilities to be skill shots, not targeted, to allow players to outplay the Guardian if they were alone and close out the game. But if the enemy team is there, playing with those abilities really successfully, like armor, like shield bashing somebody into a fire line and then they're trapped and they're separated from their team, that would create a lot of really interesting plays. So it's much more fun than destroying a structure. There's like there is that sort of like boss encounter feel to it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I'd imagine that depending on the makeup of the team, you would try to focus on different approaches, try to take out different abilities first before the others.
Yeah, we went back and forth on the design there because there's a burden of knowledge and a communication that we have to give people, like, that's what that does, that's what that does, that's what that does. But we could have just said, oh, it just gets rid of an ability every time, and this one's always the last one to go. But we wanted that extra, team comp specific like play around it, because it's more strategic depth. And to my point before, it doesn't add that much complication to it. It's still relatively clear. There's a fireball over one of those cores. Get that one, and I'll stop doing fireballs. Pretty straightforward.
I guess we talked a little bit about the metagame stuff, but why don't we go ahead and circle back and talk about that a little bit more? I mean, how you talked about you wanted to keep it flexible. What do you mean by that?
I mean that I want you to be able to to strategize around a variety of comps. I want you to be able to play the character you want more often. Like something that I would not want in the game is like, you really love and are invested in a particular character, you've been practicing that character, you get into Shaper Select, and then somebody locks one character and they're like, well, you can't be that guy now. And it's like, that really stinks, if there's like a character that you love. The ability for characters to fill in multiple roles and be like, okay, I wanted to play a really aggressive character too. I can do that. I'm just going to do that as a support. As a tactician, and that'll allow me to scale just as well as you trying to be this really kill-oriented person. Or we actually have the ability that you could run 2 tacticians in a lane. We have the ability that's like, somebody say, I want to solo a lane. They're like, okay, we'll run a tri-lane bottom. So just a lot of configurations, still allowing you to play the characters that you really like, just in the roles that are helpful for your team, and to explore, a lot of interesting comps.
So as we come to the conclusion of the match here, let's talk about the status of the beta. When are you guys planning to, fully release the game? When is that going to happen? Do you have any sort of timeline in mind right now?
We've not set a timetable for the later stages of our beta, just because we're going to spend the time to fix those things I told you about. Like, we really want to deliver on the promises that we're setting up, those things that I just said in the interview. Like, I want them to be absolutely 100% true. I want a really flexible meta. So we're just continuing to iterate in beta. So we're in community beta right now, which does mean that you don't need a key to get in. You just go to dawngate.com and grab it. We want to just keep making the game better before it's out there for launch.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
No problem. Thank you.